Hi guys, I'm Ken, the boring fisherman. I feel like myself, I'm back in plaid. By request, I'm going to do a video showing what I've done to this boat and how I have it laid out, so follow along. I'm just going to start off with, I have a spider infestation on this thing. I haven't used it in a couple of months because I had the big boat in the water. But I'll start here at the front with my Columbia River anchor, my Anchor Caddy anchor nest. I had this bow replaced, or not replaced, but repaired. It used to be all full of holes and there was all kinds of stuff bolted to it. And up here in the bow I keep the Columbia River anchor system, my rope bag, the float for the rope bag, my float, my bow rope is in here, and my tow rope for when I tow tubes. I just threw it in here, it doesn't actually belong there. Now on the bow rail over there I have a Scotty rod holder that I never use, and I'm probably going to move to the other set of rails. I added these 3 rod holders up here. I have 2 more to add in between them, so I'll have 5. That stick that's stuck in there is a camera mount. I normally have it on the one closest to the middle, but it's right there for now. Move down this side. Sitting on the original trailer. It was original to the boat when the original owner had it ordered. It's been modified for a removable tongue. It's just solid. I don't ever remove the tongue on it. I have a spare tire mount here. Cool part about this is it's on a hub and spindle with an extra set of bearings and an extra hub. So if I'm off on the road somewhere and I have bearings go bad, then I've got a spare set on the trailer. Same guy who did the bow built me these rocket launchers. They're his first set. They're my first set. They're drilled to drain. I did that. I also mapped out and drilled all the holes for the rivets. There's 10 wide flange 3/16 rivets holding each set down. I had them set angled back for fishing rods, and then the front one here is larger to fit my big net or my gaff hook straight up in the front. I've got some YouTube stickers here. Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors, myself, the boring fisherman, Earl the reef robber. He's a pretty cool guy. And then back here where you can't hardly see it is Fishing with Modog. There's some other YouTubers I follow. Come back here a little further. I added these side rails. They're not original. They came off of a boat that we scrapped a couple of years ago. I actually added these to this boat because a friend of mine was in a wheelchair, paraplegic. He got shot at a young age and was in a wheelchair, and I installed these so that he could go fishing with me and have something to hang on to. And before he ever got to go with me, he passed away from some kind of a complication. But that's where these came from. That's why I have the side rails down here. Coming down this side, I have this Scotty downrigger. It's the long arm manual, old style downrigger with the pop-up base. And then I had to make this spacer here for it. I made that out of UHMW. I cut it out on a table saw, and it just spaces it up high enough that it fits. I put the braid on this. It originally had stainless cable, but it was all frayed out. So I got this braid, a little slider I made out of the same plastic as I made the riser out of. I made it prior to the switch to braid. And then there's the cable and the bump stop. And that slider I have some tuna cord on. and it just clips here. That way when there's the lead on it, I can just pull this into the side of the boat to reclip my rigging onto the downrigger. Back on this side, a sticker here for Arizona Lifestyles, another YouTuber. Got my safety inspection sticker. This rubber piece up here is where I used to put my net. I would set my net with the basket in the bow and grab the handle of it here, and that worked good for a long time, but you couldn't use the you couldn't walk through the windshield with the net in the way. But that worked okay for a long time. Here's my pieced together antenna mount, my antenna for the VHF, more spider webs. Here's the other set of rocket launchers that matches the other side. This side is actually offset a 1/2 inch over from center, and that's to clear my antenna. I had my friend Artie, he's got a vinyl printer. He printed me the name for the boat. I got that on both sides, Daisy Day. Same thing with this rail here as on the other side, and it has a rail mount rod holder on it as well, and I'll explain that in a minute. Continue down this side. Come to the transom here. So using these, I tie it straight down to the trailer with a set of straps. When I got this boat and brought it home, it didn't have any straps on the back, and I had ratchet straps. These are the ones that I had with me, and they've been there ever since. Both sides on the back have these flush mount angled rod holders. I don't know if there's enough light, but they have the pin in the bottom for the gimbal rod butts. FAM Fabrication. That's the company that added this splash well. Had to add a panel here to make it all work, and then that's all 3/16 with a 3/8 flat bar on the top. But that's all TIG welded. He added drains. You see my 15 horse Honda Kicker. It's a 2021. It's the first outboard I ever bought brand new, and I have a telescopic tiller extension on it just to make it a little easier to reach from inside. My main engine is a 2008 Evinrude E-Tech 115. When I bought this boat, it had a 1986 Yamaha 115 on it, and the previous owner said it didn't run right, and it had the auto oiler system was removed from it, and I never had any interest in playing with that because I had this E-Tech. So that was one of the first things that I did, was swap the engines on this boat. I've got a 16-inch diameter, 13 pitch Mercury Mirage prop. It's not fast, but it has a whole lot of hole shot, and it just worked good for me. A lot of guys say I have too much diameter and not enough pitch. And it is very impressive when you just punch it. But with this prop, my top speed is about 35 miles an hour. Down here on the skeg is a rock guard that's been modified to fit this motor. I got this motor secondhand. This was on it. This engine was originally on a dory boat. And with that, the top pin for the tilt cylinder is also removable for doing beach landings. I know it's dark. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But when I had this splash well put in, I also had this little step put on for wet entry, like when you're pushing the boat off a sandbar or something like that. That's for wet entry. And the bottom of that step is the transducer bracket where both of my transducers mount. And the wiring goes behind it, and then it comes up nice and clean in through the hole above the waterline. I think that turned out pretty clean. It's nice and stout. It's all 1/4-inch aluminum, fully TIG welded. Now the last thing to see from the outside is going to be this corner here. I have my fuel water separator where it's accessible. The fuel line comes from under the deck in the fuel tank through this fitting, and then it plumbs directly into the main motor. And for a while I was running this fuel line to my kicker, and I quit doing that, and I ran a fuel line through the other fitting that I added on that side, and I run the kicker now off of a portable fuel tank. I got some bad gas one time, and it killed both of these engines, so that's why I've done that. I just haven't removed this side yet. And here's that other flush mount rod holder I was mentioning earlier, as well as my stern light plug. This is a cross orb weaver, commonly known as a garden spider or European garden spider, and I have an infestation of them in this boat. Anyhow, so now I'm inside the boat. Here's the inside of that splash well. I built this scent holder out of UHMW, and it holds my scents and my scissors. I've got a Scotty bait table with a cup holder set up back here off center. That works awesome in that location. I've got 3 locations down each side for rod holders. Well, 4 I guess on this side. This is my mobile removable trolling chair. That has been a lifesaver. It's also a second-hand one that needed repairs, but that's kind of just what I've got for now. So I'd mentioned this from the outside, and let me show you why I have that. I don't have working lights in this building yet, so pardon the mess in the background. We're just kind of storing some stuff. My sister's got some stuff stored here. But this rail mount rod holder is where my second sonar is. The wiring wraps up and stores inside the wall when it's not in use. But that's for while I'm in the trolling chair, because when I'm in the trolling chair, my wife is usually sitting in that seat, and without fail, she's blocking my other sonar. Never fails. So down in that corner there is where I keep my downrigger ball, and there's some remains of old mounts in here that were from the previous owner. The fire extinguisher lives in the gunnels. It's normally up by the steering wheel, but for some reason it got moved back here. I keep a fish club handy for that lucky event when I do catch a fish. I haven't, like I said, I haven't used this boat in a couple of months, so it's kind of a mess. I've got this gray box that I just call the gray box. Don't mind that. But this is my gray box. My grandfather built this, and it was originally to house a plastic 12-gallon fuel tank that was for reserve fuel in his ocean-going boat. And it went in front of the doghouse because he had an inboard. And that boat's long gone, and I kept the box. It's movable. It just sits in here. I can put it on this side if I want, or over there. It goes wherever I want. And inside of there I store my tools, my first aid kit, some bait, gloves, my electronics when I'm not using them. Got my flare kit in there. This bag full of fishing tackle goes in there. That's just random tackle that doesn't live in a tackle box. But that's my gray box. It also works good to stand on while you're casting. Sometimes I anchor up in tidewater, and I'll stand on that if I'm throwing spinners. And another good part about this gray box is I can set crab pots on it while I'm sorting crab and pulling out the females and the smalls. You can see my base here, and there's the rest of it on the floor in the dark. But I have a crab davit that goes in there for when I'm crabbing, and of course the downrigger's not always there. because I bring the crab pots in over the top of where that downrigger's at. I have a battery switch here that turns off auxiliary power for my switch panel, my electronics, my horn, all of that. It's all just on and off there. I'll move forward from here. I got these two swivel seats, and they're both on sliders, so they slide forward and back. I actually just changed the seat base under this one. That's why that short one was still in the boat. I replaced both of these gunnel panels shortly after I got the boat because the original ones were rotten. They had speaker holes in them, and they'd got wet, and they had carpet, and I replaced them with sealed up plywood that I painted. Got a knife holder on this side. Tucked all my wiring through with a nice cover here for the controls for that Evinrude. I have it spaced off of the wall with some more of that 1/2-inch plastic, because if I didn't, then this, you'd catch your knuckles on the corner there. Now looking at this dash, you can see that it's diamond plate. I reskinned it. Originally, when it was the Yamaha, the gauges were here, the switch panel was on the other side, and that didn't work out. I had some wiring constraints, and nothing really matched up, and it had other holes cut in it. And so I just replaced it with that diamond plate. A friend of mine had that in his garage, and it was just about right. I only had to trim a little bit off to make it work. And it's secured on with a bunch of those same wide flange rivets that increase the thickness of that dash up to 1/4 of an inch. And that's been a good upgrade. It's double thick everywhere that it can be double thick anyway. And I drilled it for my analog and digital gauges for the engine, my fuel gauge. I got a horn button down there because I have an air horn. The air horn's mounted under the front dash, and then there's my switch panel over here with a voltmeter, WSB plugs, and a cigarette plug, just the regular 12-volt plug. Everything is on a circuit breaker, as well as underneath there is a fuse panel. So everything is protected. I keep some random stuff up here on the dash. That's not always there. But I keep crab gauges, a pen, usually some zip ties. Looks like I keep a cigarette butt here because I'm an evil smoker. This cup holder doesn't fit anything except for little cans. And cans are no fun in a boat. So I keep magic thread of various sizes in it. And that's Squirt. He's been with me for a long time. VHF mounts here. I've got my Humminbird Helix. It's non-imaging. It's just the chirp sonar and GPS chart plotter. And I have it on a ram mount that I bought. And I like that ram mount. I'd suggest that to anybody who's looking for a mount. I had to drill it for the mount for my Helix 5 because it's smaller than the bolt pattern that was provided. Got a phone mount. I don't know the brand. It was a freebie. I don't ever use it. It's just there. Got a Ritchie compass. You got to have a standby compass. You can't. I don't know if there's a law about it or anything, but you won't catch me on the water without a compass. And then here's the step to go through the front. I've got a bungee cord across it. It's pretty dark, so I don't know if you can see it. But I got a bungee cord across it. I normally store some tackle boxes under there. All my tackle boxes are actually in the big boat right now. That's my lead box. So I keep all my lead there. It's easy to get to. And I've got a crab measure that I don't get along with. And it lives up here. This is a replica samurai sword that my grandpa had in his boat. And I carry it now. And then here is my whistle. It sounds more like a horn than a whistle. But that keeps me legal even if my air horn quits. And then I've got another one that my grandpa carried. That's just a sentimental thing. Now under this side, I have another bungee cord that goes side to side, and I hang all of my life jackets on it like they're in a closet. And they're under there and out of the weather. So when the boat's outside, they're not getting all wet or directly in the sun, and they're easy to come out, they're easy to put on. I normally put them on before I use the boat anyway, but that's where they store. And I added this little tackle tray with a cup holder. That cup holder is big enough for my coffee cup. I got my downrigger clip in here, as well as some random loose hooks and tackle. Kind of stores in here. I got another knife. And then back here on this side of the gunnel, same thing as the other one. I replaced this one. And I've got a knife holder and pliers that are easy to get to from the deck. And that works out just fine for me. This net stores here, and you know, it normally goes in the rocket launcher now. But inside this gunnel I have another scent holder. That's actually retired out of a restaurant. That's what would go on a table with your ketchup bottles or hot sauce or whatever. And I keep my leaders here for when I'm bobber fishing in the spring and in the fall. And my single hook bobber leaders, they store in there. Moving back to the back again, I keep both of my batteries and battery boxes there. Believe it or not, they're strapped in there. They just don't fit all the way under the splash well. See if you can look through this. I've got a box there that came out of a Willie boat. It has a Willie boat sticker on it. I added some plastic skids to the bottom of that so it would slide in and out of there. My fuel can for the kicker, as well as some tools and oil, because my Evinrude is still oil injected and has an oil tank. I store things like that in there. Stuff that I like to keep separate from my tackle, like oil and gas. And then on the other side of that is right there is the oil tank for the Evinrude. So that's kind of the layout of my boat. It works pretty good. I don't know of much improvements that I could make to it, except for I would like a bigger bait table, but this one works fine. Works fine for now. One more thing. It has two hatches in the floor, and I don't use either of them for anything because I don't like putting anything under the floor. I believe that's bilge water, and I don't like putting stuff under there. It has a compartment in the bow that was originally, according to the build sheet, because I have the build sheet, was supposed to be a fish box. There ain't no way I'm putting fish in that thing up there, just because of age and dirty now. So I keep, I have a manual bilge pump and some paddles, my spare prop. Those live in there. And again, there's another shot of that anchor caddy with that Columbia River anchor. So I apologize about the mess, but that's the layout and setup of this boat in its current configuration. That's always subject to change, though. Thanks for watching.